Hi guys. I have received many requests to cover certain cases for this show. I have found a way to accommodate this without playing favorites. At the first of every month, I will sift through names from my list of Patreon donors in a bowl and draw someone at random. That individual will get to choose a case for that month. The link to my Patreon account, once again, is www.patreon, that's spelled patreon.com/leader1, Leaderone. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Why do you seem so scared? All I wanted to do was play with you. Please come and play with me. I am so lonely. You're not afraid of the dark, are you? Don't be afraid. Come with me. I will show you where I play hide and seek. Do you want to play hide and seek? You hide, and I'll find you.
Yes, welcome to Human Monsters. This is a sequel to the episode called Prison Horror Stories. This time around, we have a guest who has actually been in prison, and he can dispel some of the myths and misconceptions that we've been led to believe in if we've never been in prison, because movies and television have a way of depicting it in a way that's not always realistic. Sometimes it exaggerates certain aspects of prison culture. It's Raymond Hazen Jr., and he's also the co-host of another one of my podcasts, the Trailer Park Boys Fan Federation podcast. If you're a fan of the Trailer Park Boys TV show, then you may enjoy that one. So thank you very much, Raymond, for joining me on this episode.
Wow, thanks for having me in, man.
All right, so I'll start off. So what were you arrested for? What was the charge that brought you into prison? I'll go with, I think you stayed in prison more than once, right?
Commercial burglary.
Commercial burglary? So was it shoplifting? Or?
Well, there's a bunch of stuff. I stole a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Store. Yeah.
So how high-end were these products? Was it like electronics or something?
It wasn't too high-end. It was just a bunch of camping gear and shit like that. You know, I was living homeless, so I just went and sold, like, a whole bunch of stuff, and it was several hundreds of dollars, and I think it was about close to $1,000 worth of stuff, and got hemmed up for that. And so they gave me a burglary charge out of Napa for that.
And it seems to me like one of the hardest things about being in prison must be the first 24 hours. Like I'm particularly talking about like when you go for the first time, just the reality of it sinks in, the gravity of it, where it's like, I'm not leaving this place for a long time, and I'm surrounded by a lot of bad people. So, like, what was the first night like when you were there?
It really, for me, it wasn't really too much. I mean, my dad went to prison when I was like 3, and so I've been going as a visitor from a child all the way on. So, like, I was familiar with being incarcerated. Not really as in, like, I had been too much. Like, as a child, you're not really locked up, you know. But I started getting arrested myself as an adult, like, right out of the gate, you know, stupid things like, you know, being 17 or 18, you know, drunk in public somewhere or partying or, you know, doing peddly little stupid shit that kids do, you know. But by that point, I had done, you know, quite some time in county jail leading up to prison. So I was not unfamiliar with being incarcerated. You know, I got a couple DUIs by that point, you know, driving home from bars and things like that. And, eventually, they sent me for the burglaries, and I mean, it was weird. They sent me to San Quentin State Penitentiary, and I remember pulling up, and, like, I wasn't as, like, scared or shocked as I thought I would be, and I remember thinking that was kind of odd, like, this is already too comfortable in my life, and this is my first trip to prison. Like, I'm already, like, yeah, I know kind of what to expect. And but I do remember San Quentin is like a castle almost. It's its own like its own world. It's a trip, and I mean, like I think I've stated on the other show that we have that it is the oldest penitentiary in California. I think 1889 or 88, something like that, is when it was built. Next one would be Folsom. But anyway, I just remember thinking how like it was big and massive, and I mean it was intimidating. It was, you know, like I didn't know what to expect, but it's not like I wasn't unprepared for the possibilities. And I remember walking in, it was a trip. It was crazier now because like you go in, they give you your bedroll and they make you dress out. And of course, you know, you got to squat and cough, and some guy wants to look at your butthole. I mean, you guys are having that job. You just into guys' buttholes all day, every day.
Did they delouse you too? They throw the white powder on you?
No, they don't. They don't do that. They don't do that. But see, once again, I mean, not once again. Maybe I should state that my point of view is limited into this area of the world that I'm in, down here in California. Like I haven't been to prison in you know, New York or Amsterdam or Russia. So I mean, everywhere is different. You know, I did do a little time up in Oregon. That was the weed thing that I mentioned to you one time. I got busted with a bunch of weed with some buddies, and we were up in Oregon for about a week. And that's a different place because, to my understanding, they don't really have jail versus prison. They just have the detention center. And so everyone in there, it could be a 30-day charge, it could be a 10-year charge. You know, you're all there together. At least that's the way it was made out to me, like was told to me where I was at Coos Bay, Coke Hill, Oregon. That was a tricky place. But anyway, they give you, you know, and then they walk in, and I remember they took me to West Block. West Block is where they put me, the infamous West Block of San Quentin. And it's the oldest part of the prison, and it's still the same bars, it's the same everything from back then when they built it. Like there's, you know, when you walk inside this big building, it's a building inside of a building. So like the cells are its own building, and there's a building built around that, and the cells are back to back, so they face opposite directions. And you got yard side and bay side. Yard side faces the yard, and the bay side faces the bay of the Bay Area. And anyway, you know, they tell you, you know, whatever your last name is, and you know what cell you're in. And there's 5 tiers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's, you know, basically just picture 5 stories. You know, inside it's a 5-story building inside of another building, and 100 tiers or 100 cells long. So you got what, like, it's like 1,000 guys in there or something. And anyway, they tell you, and you start walking up these stairs to go to your cell, man, and just everybody you can imagine is just hollering at you. Everyone wants to know who you are, where you're coming from, and know the first person of your race that sees you. Like the first cell you walk by, whatever race you are, that person is calling at you, because they're gonna let you know who on the tier, whoever around is, you know, the key holder of your guys' what's called car, and that's your race, because yes, in prison it is still purely racial politics. And you know, they got to make sure, you know, your paperwork's good, you don't have any bad charges, you know, like rape and you know, like child things, and you know, bad shit. So they just make sure you're good, and then you get to hang around. If you're not good, you're getting removed. But I remember it was the craziest thing the first night I got there. This is the whole point of the story. As I'm walking down the tier, they tell me first time, you know, Hazen, what was it, 378 Bayside, I think is what they said, 378. So that's third tier, 78 freaking cell down. So I'm walking down, and as I'm just walking, right, and like people are hollering and everything, I'm trying to, you know, ignore, mind my own business. I remember before I got there, some older dudes I knew who'd been there told me, there's, you know, if you can do these 2 things, you'll pretty much stay out of trouble in prison. If you can avoid gambling debts and drug debts, getting in debt for things, for the most part, you can stay out of trouble. You know, that's what gets most people caught up, are those 2 things: gambling debts and drug debts. But anyway, you know, like I wasn't informed of this very message, and I'm glad that I saw the sign, because as I was walking down, I happened to glance over to the left, and on the other side of, like, there's a big gap from the tier that I'm walking on, which is basically like a balcony, you know, and there's a big gap, and there's the wall over there, and there's what's called the gunner's tier that they walk on, and there's like 2 or 3 of them that go up. There's 2 or 3. I think there's 3 that go up the whole wall. And so like each one can watch 2 at a time, you know what I'm saying, of the 5 tiers. And Anyway, right as I'm walking by this, I look over. Here's this big giant sign that says "Warning, no attention, no warning shots fired in this unit." And at that very second, here comes a guard walking by, which is a big old rifle in his arms, walking right past that sign. It's saying "No warning shots fired, attention."
Yeah.
basically meaning if you fuck off, they're gonna shoot you. And yeah, they would.
Yeah, that's quite a welcome wagon, isn't it? Yeah.
That's good. That's good information. Oh, dude, and it was crazy. This is true. Okay, I think we've all seen what is it, the old Tango and Cash with was it Stallone and Kurt Russell, and it's the scene where they go to prison and it's like things are getting thrown out of the cells and like stuff's on fire or trash oh, it's just like that. When I walked in, dude, there were mattresses on fire, fucking shit being thrown everywhere. And there's these dudes called what are they, tier runners basically. Well, they swept up, the dudes on the bottom floor swept up a lot because it was all day, and they had those big dust mops, and they would just push it from one end and turn around and back to the other and turn around back to the other all day, back and forth, because the shit flying out never stopped.
Oh, you mean like that thing they call fishing, where you lower
Yes.
a string with an object on it and someone picks it up, and yeah.
That is 100% true. You get usually you use sheet, and you get strips of sheet and tie it together to make your line, and then you make what's called your car, which is usually like a soda bottle or like a juice bottle, something you get your hands on. You get some weight to it, so that way you can have a little weight on the end. And then you basically it's just a back and forth type motion. You use the weight of it to send it where you need it to go, and then other people can grab a hold of it, and if you got a long enough line, they'll pull it into their house a bit and then fish it down farther if you need to go farther, and you keep the farthest end tied to like your rack in your house, and then no matter what, it doesn't go anywhere. But you got to be careful because the guards coming by, they're fucking cutting that shit and ripping that down, man. And who knows, you might have a kite on there. A kite's a note, saying some shit. You might have some store on there, some things that you bought. You might have some weed, who knows what, And if the cops cut that, dude, you're lost. And let's say, dude sending you some tobacco or something, and the cops take it. Well, guess what? You purchased that, whether that you dropped the stuff off already or not.
Yeah.
Figured out a story.
And one other aspect of the interpersonal dynamics of prison is the relationship with your cellmate, and I know that sometimes that can get very tense. Did you have any problems there? Because I know that sometimes, like, if a guy is not very fastidious about cleaning up the toilet or whatever after using it, that can become a huge issue because you are cramped into a very tight space. So did you experience any kind of drama with your cellmate?
Well, I will say that the San Quentin, West Block, Badger, Donner, all those sections, which Badger's the only other one I've been in. But anyway, they are very, very small. They're like 4 by 8 by 11. 4 feet by 8 feet tall by about 11 feet long. That is it. When I'm standing in there, I can put my hand on my hip, my elbow against one wall, and then put my arm across the top bunk and fingertips to the other wall. And so I'm talking fingertips to elbow is how wide the thing is. And then, put my hand up in the air, and it's knuckles. I can't even extend my fingertips. Knuckles touch the roof. And it's tiny. And there's the length of it is the length of the bunk, and then there's a toilet directly on the other side of the bunk. And the toilet and the sink are a combo, like one unit. So yeah, they're very tiny. So yeah, you can easily get cramped. And some guys are big guys. I got lucky. I never had too big of guys. Like, I'm a large guy myself. I'm just about 6'2", and I mean, I'm close to the peak of my weight. I'm right around 260, 270-ish. Haven't stepped on a scale in a while, but I'm right in that vicinity. Luckily, I've been the bigger one of the dudes in my cells normally. So, because I've got, like I said, we've all got buddies that are real, real big. It'd be harsh. I've seen some big dudes in there. It'd be harsh to sell or to share a cell with one of those guys. I had one dude that we had a few little arguments and beefs. I mean, it can get that way, so not everyone's been in there, but everyone's grown up and had a buddy or a girlfriend or whatever come over to spend the night, and they stayed like 2 or 3 days too long. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you just kind of, like, everything's annoying.
Yeah.
That happened a few times, but for the most part, at least in the experience I've had, um, you know, we've understood that like there really isn't much choice we can do, and all we're going to do is get in a fight and wind up in the hole and losing time over what? Because fucking like you left your spoon out or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
so inside this cell, you try to resolve your issues as best you can because there's not much you can really do because no one's coming to crack those doors really. Like you're not getting out. Like cops don't care really once you're in there. Once you're locked in your cell, man, they're not coming around unless they're coming to toss your house. Which they do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Coming to shake down, search for things, pruno, knives, weapons, whatever. Drugs, kites, kill kites, whatever.
Oh,
Usually
but
throw all your shit off the tier.
tell them
Sorry.
about tell them about pruno actually, how that's made and what it is. Yeah.
Pruno, yeah, it's just jailhouse liquor. I mean, it's what you're like toilet merlot. No, it's not really toilet merlot. But no, you make like a kicker. What you call your kicker? That's your yeast. Everyone knows ethanol alcohol is made from yeast. That's the difference from isopropyl. Ethanol alcohol is what we can consume. It gets us intoxicated. It's safe, won't kill you, and all that. But anyway, that's made from yeast products fermenting with fruit and other things. And so basically, you just make jailhouse wine. It's usually real, low end stuff. Doesn't taste the best in the world, but you get some bread and some other things. You make a little ball with some jellies and stuff for sugar, and you let that start to ferment. And you drop in a whole bunch of fruit. Usually oranges, squeeze up orange juice, apple juice, fruit punch, whatever you get your hands on. And then you can make that. And then guys, if you can get the hot pots, or the stingers, we call them stingers. They're like little, like you can put it in a cup of hot and make it hot water. You get what I'm saying? It's like a little stick you can put in there and it gets really hot. You can get those things too, but the hot pots work best. You can get those modified so they get super hot. And people actually can make, they make good pruno and then they start cooking it off just like you would alcohol. And you can cook that alcohol off and get a distilled, clear white liquor which you hear when you hear white lightning. No, that shit'll get you some fucked up. That's
Yeah.
real alcohol.
How much pruno would you need to drink to get drunk? Like in terms of drinking shots, how many shots would you need to drink of it?
Oh, dude, a bit, dude. I'm drinking like a gallon.
A gallon. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, figure like maybe beer, maybe wine, alcohol. You're looking at anywhere from like 7 to like 14-16% maybe for just pruno. I mean, you get to the white lightnings, you get somebody making that for you, and then yeah, you got that's regular alcohol, So you're getting drunk off that for sure. Regular, a few drinks, a couple cocktails, a few shots, like regular alcohol. But the pruno, oh yeah, that's you're familiar with Trailer Park Boys. It's like swoosh. You gotta drink a whole bunch of it.
So how does the culture of prison compare to the culture of city jails and county jails? Like, what did you find was the difference?
Prison's way better.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that to everybody out there, so they just think, oh, I'm just gonna go to prison.
Yeah,
No
problem.
But, in prison, you get outside more. There's more freedom. Like most county jails I experienced, you're basically entirely inside. You might have a yard that's usually like up on the roof of the building, but besides that, there's no real outside like there's in prison. We got in the basketball court, out on the track, out in the weight pile. There's no weight piles and stuff. County jails are like, inside little facilities, and you go to prison, you can get your own TV at most institutions, you can get your own headphones, you can get your store dropped off, you get contact visits, and then if you're married, you get conjugal visits, whereas in county jail, it's almost always behind glass. Like there's tons of this, the amount of things you can get in store, the amount of rights that you have, they all increase. The downside is the amount of time you're doing definitely increases also.
Yeah, right.
But if you had to do like when they came out with that AB 109 rule a few years back, where it was like, now you can do like up to like 10 years in county, or like I'll tell you right now, I'd rather go do 5 years in prison than 5 years in county any day.
Yeah.
Even though you are at risk more, it's dangerous more. There's more hardened felons there. But if you try to mind your P's and Q's, you can't be all right.
And the food is notorious for being really terrible in prison. So how did you find it? I mean, what
Oh,
I
it's
heard it
horrible.
was that it's as devoid of flavor, and it's what.
It's horrible. Yeah, no, it's horrible. Like, they can't really add any seasonings to it because you got old guys with heart problems and things. You can't add salt. Like, people are allergic to things, so like there's no seasoning basically in anything. And we joke about it and say if it wasn't for our store, commissary, your soups and your chips and all the shit that you buy, if it wasn't for all that, you'd starve. And realistically you would, because you get the one tray and that's it. Like if you get a small little slop of green beans and it really wasn't even a full spoonful, sorry about your luck, buddy. Like, there's no going back in line and going, hey, can I get some more green beans? Like, I didn't get enough. Then
Yeah.
sorry, SOL, get out of line. Matter of fact, as soon as you get into chow, which is, the food hall called chow, you walk in, you're in line, you grab your tray, you sit down in order. There's no just go sit down somewhere. Like, they move you down the lines. Like, as you're walking in, it's like herding cattle. And then you sit at the table with whoever you happen to be standing next to as you go in. The guy in front of you could be who you went into line with, but he ends up at the table over there while you're over here just because that's the way, it went. Then, I'm telling you, as soon as you sit down, you see him coming up, like, you got maybe 5 minutes. So that's why that old thing, you see guys come home, they eat real fast, they kind of real quick, so they got to get the food down and go. That is a fact. Like, you got minutes to eat your tray and go. Or
Wow.
sorry, time to go. So
Uh,
yeah,
did you ever see the TV show Oz?
yes,
And
watched all six seasons. I
yeah,
think.
me too. I have the DVDs.
Yeah.
So that's not a realistic portrayal of prison at all, is it?
Well, see, from where I've been, no. I mean, some of it, yes. The only thing that I'd say that they depict wrong is all the rape. Like, there's tons of rape in prison, and no, there really isn't much of that I've noticed. I mean, for the most part, most dudes in there are not homosexual. There are some, and depending on what race or nationality they are, depending on what institution they're at, determines on whether they're even allowed to be around or not. You know, um, and I mean, maybe on some like level 4 yards, like down here in California, you got level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's your low level to your high levels, and up on those 4s, those are your certified killers and guys who ate 12 people and things like that probably. And now some of them, maybe I've never been to one of those, so I can't say how much rape goes on a 4-yard. To my understanding, now my father's been on several 4-yards, and he's always told me that no, it wasn't really like that. That maybe back in the 70s and early 80s it kind of was. That stuff kind of fell off a little bit. I don't know. I think it's also because there are some there that are more open now, that there's people that actually are willing to give it away, that they don't have to rape.
Yeah.
I think is probably what part of it is,
So you weren't
But
aware of any of those guys they call punks, the ones who basically become somebody's property and they just pimp them out?
no. That's like I said, that's a bit of a Hollywood thing, or maybe on a higher yard, or in a different state, or a different institution. Like, I know that everywhere I've been, I'm a white guy, so of course I'm clicked up with the white guys, and we don't even let, without, no disrespect to anyone out there that is, we don't, like, they don't even, if you're openly running around doing things like that, like, they don't even let you be on the yard, like, they'll remove you, and, the whites they don't, very hard politics when it comes to a lot of things, and there, I mean, there was not very many, like, usually, like, okay, what is it, CMF? I think it's the medical facility is what it's called. Now, a lot of homosexuals and transgenders and things like that go to that institution to keep them protected from people, because, a lot of guys in there will, you see a dude, because in prison, just because you have boobs, if you've got a penis, you're still a guy, you know what I'm saying? So they put you in with the guys, and those people would get attacked sometimes, a lot of the times, really. And so they started separating them to keep their own places, to keep them protected. And I don't know. You get a bunch of guys who like are, that just don't like gay sex. Like I don't know. Like I personally, like, I don't mind jerking off. I don't know if that's okay to say. Like, I don't need to get it from some other dude to get it. Like I'm fine. Like I don't turn myself on enough as it is. Like I don't need to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Dudes aren't attractive. Have you seen guys' asses? I've seen tons of them in prison showers.
Well, I'm sure.
Not one of them is sexy.
Yeah. Was there
hairy, dude.
was there an anti-masturbation policy? They do not allow that there?
No, they frown upon it. I do know. Okay, so San Quentin. This is weird. San Quentin was reception for where I was at here in California. I ended up mainlining over at Jamestown. And while I was there, like San Quentin, I think you can order it. You can probably get it, bud. Like San Quentin Times, I think is what it's called. It's its own newspaper.
Oh, wow.
And it goes to all the institutions, and like you can buy it. Like people around the world subscribe to it and stuff. And I should look that up. I'm pretty positive you can. Anyway, I read an article on how we're still not promoting sexual relations amongst inmates, but there was a box up at the guards shack, which was just a desk in one of the, each of the areas. Each one had a guard shack. It was just a desk. But anyway, you can go up to it, and there's just a box that had condoms in it that you could take condoms out of it if you wanted to. But of course, they didn't promote relations between inmates. I'm like, yes, you are.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yes, that's the only promotion of it. Anti-masturbation policy, like that I heard of. But
if the administration not allow it,
you don't want to be caught doing it.
Yeah, no one would under any circumstances. But
No.
like, does the administration have a policy against that? Because like I think I've seen that. I mean, what I've just heard, I don't know, maybe it was in fiction TV shows, I don't know, where you're just not allowed to do anything sexual. So are you not allowed to gratify yourself?
What? Actually, you're right. I think you're right on that one, because you're right. Sexual acts are disbanded or disbarred. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for here is. Not allowed. So you're right. I think masturbation might actually fall under that.
Well, you'd think that they would at least
I don't know
allow
anyone
that.
that's ever been like busted for it and like written up or anything, but it probably is on the books.
Well, aren't you asking for trouble when you won't even allow a bunch of men to jerk off,
Dude, you take away liquor, you take away fucking dope, weed, you take away some cigarettes and sex, and you say you can't masturbate.
Yeah, that's a bit much, That's they got to vent somehow.
No wonder they're stabbing each other in there, right?
Oh yeah. Speaking of prison rules, it seems to me like it must be tricky sometimes to strike a balance between, on one hand, obeying the prison's rules as laid down by the warden and all the other administration, but the inmates have another set of rules. So say somebody gets killed and maybe they have reason to believe that you witnessed it, and they want you to tell them who did it, but you also know snitches get stitches, and you'll end up being murdered if you
can't say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, striking the balancing act between those two sets of rules, that must be tricky sometimes, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, short answer, no. Because the short answer is you don't talk to cops, period.
Yeah.
I mean, how you doing? How's your day? How's it going? Anything that doesn't pertain to you personally, you do not say to them at all. You don't say, hey, you see Johnny's new freaking stereo he got? His family sent it? You don't even say shit like that. If it doesn't pertain to you, you don't say nothing to the police. It's about them and the day and yourself, and that's it. And if you just stick to that rule, yeah, you'll be all right. But, I mean, they'll come in. I mean, like I remember this one time, it was one of the few fights I got in there. Me and this dude got in a little knuckle up, and I'm not gonna lie, he dotted my eye pretty decent. I had a nice little shiner. And so they come over, and frickin' as soon as they see that, they rush me straight off the medical, and they strip me down butt naked to search my entire body for more marks. And then they want to see, all right, who did it? I slipped in the shower, man. I was playing basketball. Like, what do you want me to tell you, dude? Like, It's a handball. And the one cop looks at me and says, yeah, you see you play no handball. I said, well, you ain't paying attention, Pay attention more. You might notice some things. And, as soon as I get back, they want to search everybody, check everybody's knuckles, look at everything, which everything was fine. It had been some days. No big deal. No one got busted. And, instantly, everyone, what'd you say? And of course, it's absolutely nothing. That's why no one got busted, no one got hemmed up, no one got taken away. But, oh yeah, they're going to hound you for it. And realistically, at the end of the day, as long as you stick to your guns of, I'm sorry, I can't tell you nothing, or I don't know nothing, whatever it is, you don't have to say, I'm sorry, you don't have to be polite about it. You just be like, nah, I don't know what the fuck you're even talking about. Ultimately, they can't hold you on nothing, and bust you for nothing, for not telling them, But, I mean, that's up to you. If you want to tell them what happened, you will deal with the repercussions. And yes, you are right. Snitches do get stitches. You get caught talking about anyone's business to them, and oh yes, it will happen. You will get handled. And when you get removals or DPs, which is disciplinaries, or whatever you want to call them, because removals and DPs are basically what we call them down here. It's usually 2 or 3 or 4 guys, and you're getting removed physically before, you're getting hurt before you leave, just actually. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, a removal is you're physically hurt, and then you have to go.
Did you ever witness and or have involvement in a riot?
Yes. 2 actually, over in Jamestown, which were just, I was just fighting and trying to keep myself not fucking killed because it was just a crazy mess. Craziest thing I saw in that, though, is I did see a dude get stabbed with a broom handle in the stomach.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty nuts. Just a bunch of blood everywhere. Saw another guy get hit in the face with a broom handle. Basically just in a situation like that, you just click up with a couple, 3 or 4 buddies that that you're always. That's the thing you gotta do when you go to prison. Like you don't have to gang up and become an Aryan brother or black, whatever. I don't even know what they're guerrilla mafia, I think is what they're called. Some of them, I don't even really know. Or the Norteño. Like you don't have to. Well, actually, a lot of. If you claim Norteño, man, you got a really rough time in there. They got a hard program, man. They're like military with their stuff, man, and they're but they've kind of lost the battle between the Northerners and Southerners down here in California. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't want to speak on things that I don't understand too much, from my point of view. But anyway, hell, was I sounding outside tracks there?
So the riot. So how long did it take for that to be subdued, for everything to be like cleaned up and?
Well, it seems like forever, but they really only go on for maybe 20 minutes, half hour, 15 minutes. Let's see. The first one was, I think, in the 20-minute area, and then the second one lasted like 45 minutes. But I'll tell you that the craziest thing that I'd seen, it wasn't in either of those. Which if we can wait till we get to that. But there was something else I've seen in prison that was even crazier than any of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was the most disturbing thing you ever witnessed in prison?
I watched a guy get thrown off. I don't know if it was the 4th or the 5th tier. All I know is I was on the 3rd, and the dude came from above me, and he was thrown off the tier in San Quentin, and went down and basically splatted, dude. I mean, it's like a 4-story drop, 5-story drop.
So what, his head just exploded on impact?
Yeah, it's just. When you got down there, and I mean, instantly you hear, the alarms go off and fucking shit gets crazy. And believe me, there are more cops in prison than you realize. The 12 you see walking around are the 12 you see walking around. There's like 1,000 hidden in behind doors and underground and all kinds of shit, man. And when shit goes crazy, they come out of the woodworks. People always say, how come the inmates don't overthrow the prison? Because believe me, there's a lot more cops than you see there at all times. There really, really is, man. I don't know where the hell they all come from, but anyway, they're every tier. There's just dozens of them, and they're just shoving you guys in cells, man. And we were locked down for shit.
And
I mean, in reception, you're locked down already for a while, but like we got self-fed, I think, for the next like 3 weeks.
wow, so you were in lockdown, like just wouldn't let you out of the cells, you said?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. They let us out. I think it was like 5 cells at a time or something to shower during that time. Showers took like fucking 2 days just to do showers.
Holy
It
shit.
was crazy.
And we see murders a lot in like action movies and horror movies and stuff. Well, what is it like to actually witness that? You saw someone actually get killed in front of you, the guy who fell or was dropped. So how did that make you feel just to see that?
Unsettling. I was very ill for a little bit. Like it just felt weird. And it felt cold. I found a dead body once before too. Like when I was. This is a whole other story. This is outside of prison. And like there was a dude in his apartment. Like I went with this girl seeing our friend's apartment, and the neighbor came over saying, "Hey, his neighbor's like hasn't answered the door in a few days. He's concerned." So me and the other neighbor went in there and looked, and lo and behold, dude been on the floor, cold, dead for shit. I don't know, at least a couple days probably. I mean, he was cold, and it's not like nice and like warm. Like I don't know. It's weird. It's not like the way TV makes it out to be. People aren't smiling, and when blood splatter hits on the TV screen, it's not real. Like it almost looks real, but it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. It's very different. Blood's a lot darker in real life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Very dark, and
yeah, especially
yeah,
if it's like a huge wound because it doesn't have time
yeah.
to become red. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oxygen's got to mix with it or whatever. It's got to oxygenate or something to turn all red, I think. But like, yeah, it's really dark, especially when it's in a puddle, like when it's thick and there's not much light shining through it. Yeah.
And you mentioned being in fights. Were you ever ganged up on? Did anyone just attack you, like sucker punch you, or just come at you when you weren't aware of it?
No. I'm a pretty likable guy. I show respect and all that, and I try to mind my business. And if it doesn't pertain to me, it has nothing to do with me, type of situation. But I do know there was one time that I had to participate in a DP of somebody else with another guy. I don't want to get into too much what he did. It's like there's different levels of like infractions. Like if you get in trouble, with the inmate rules, like you do something that gets your dorm, your cell, or another race hemmed up or something, like depending on how much trouble it causes, it determines the level of your punishment, And luckily for this guy, it wasn't really that big of a deal. He did get the dorm that we were all over and tossed, which got the other races involved, but luckily no one got busted for anything. So he didn't get in that much trouble, but he had to be shown a lesson not to like, hey, don't do things that draw attention to us. So this one dude and myself were the two that got nominated, because like no one else really wanted. One of the other guys in there was a big, he was a Protestant chaplain's clerk, and I felt, and a couple of us felt like it would be inappropriate to have the Protestant chaplain's clerk out there DPing somebody. Like that's kind of the wrong message to send, because he's a religious cat, so I mean don't force that, and so anyway, the two of us had to do it. So basically, we just had to go there, punch him up, beat him up, put hands on him a little bit for a few minutes, and and then that's basically it. And pretty much once blood is drawn, so like once you like split an eyebrow or bust a lip or something, that's usually when it's done. Hands laid, debts paid is another way that we phrase it. So that I did have to participate in. That was just the one time. But besides that, the only other fights I ever been in was one toss up with the dude where he dotted me in the eye. That was liquor induced. We were just drinking a bunch of white lighting, got a little drunk and rowdy, out of control. And this guy got in a little tussle, so that was no big deal. We were cool about it. Matter of fact, the guy that I got in that fight with is the same guy that I had to DP the other dude with.
Yeah, is that right? Oh, wow.
Funny how it works like that, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one thing I've read about modern prisons is that they've kind of become the new mental institutions because a lot of mentally ill
Oh yeah.
people do commit crime. So I was wondering if you like observed like bizarre, strange behavior, like I mentioned on the first part of this series about prison stories. This one guy shoved a toilet brush up his ass, like the handle, and had the brush part sticking out. Say, "Hey, look, I'm a rabbit." Was there anything really weird going on to that extent, or?
There was this one dude that used to keep in solitary at this one place that I used to go by when I'd sweep the hallway. I got a little job as a janitor for a while at one place, and he used to like to finger paint with shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, he did that. He did that. There were a lot of dudes who used to like to do weird things with shit. I don't know what it is about the fascination with some people whose brains go a little loopy and in their own fecal matter. I don't know.
that seems to happen in a lot of prisons, though. Like actually,
It
some of those
really
stories
does.
involve that. Yeah, people doing things with their bodily substances. So, what kept?
I think it might be because it's the one thing they can't take away from you.
That's right. Yeah, they can't. You got to
That kind
eat,
of
and you got to yeah,
yeah, that kind of just dawned on me. I
yeah.
don't know.
So what kept you sane in there? Like surely there must have been times when it was when you had a hard time keeping it together, or is
I
that
read a lot. I read a lot, man. Like you, I wasn't in a cell. I was riding a horse in the prairie or blasting off through the galaxy. I mean, if you can read and you can get lost in a story, you can disappear. Um, Fortunately for me, that worked, you know. And then I studied a lot of things. Anything I get my hands on, I studied. Uh, and then I took up a little art, like I doodled a little bit. And then when I got to mainline, see, during reception and things, it's rough because you're locked down all the time. Once you get to the main line, it's not as rough because, like I said, you're out all the time. I got really active in groups while I was there, and started going to the well, it's not really a college. They have a school there that they teach some classes, and so I started doing that. And I started getting involved in some like art and healing classes and some church services. And I mean, I was barely ever even on the yard or in the dorm. Like I was always at service or at work or I mean, you can keep busy once you get to mainline if you want to. Um, but that's up to you. You have to request it and actually want to.
Yeah, that's one thing I read. This guy said, make constructive use of your time, get a job, take some courses, read books. But the guys who just sit around drinking, doing drugs, gambling, those are the guys who most likely end up in trouble, right?
Definitely. I always try to tell people that prison can be positive if you leave it a better person than you already went in. Like if you progress yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, anything along them lines, like it can be positive. If you go there to learn something, you didn't waste your time. You get what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
a waste of time is just sitting around all day arm wrestling. You might have a big muscle, but with all due respect, that's kind of a waste of time.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, but if you try to learn something, if you try to gain a skill, there's trades. You can go, you can go take welding classes, get certified in welding. You can go, you know, depending on where you want it. Like we got the fire camps. If as long as you don't got arson on your record, you can go over to do fire camp and go become a CDF fire camp worker through the prison. And I believe you can get certified to do that through them. And boom, you can work as a firefighter when you get out. I believe. Don't quote me on that. I haven't done that one, but I believe you can.
And was there one particular thing that you hated about being in prison?
I mean, I guess not having like weed all the time. you
Yeah.
know, I mean, separation can suck. If you like or have been used to being around certain people or family members or things like that can get rough and lonely. Um, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Prison can become oddly comfortable too. Like leaving can become nerve wracking. Like I was really nervous to leave. Like I almost didn't want to leave when my time came around because I had a nice job. Like I had respect on the yard. Like things were good, and I didn't get no problems thrown my way. I had respect and I gave respect and everything was good. And, sometimes coming out to this real world again can be scary for the guys in there, and so that's another thing that people need to tend to remember. Guys getting out sometimes are, they're nervous, because it's a big, crazy, scary world out here, and when you're out here and you got to make all the decisions for yourself, it can be overwhelming when you've been told what to do all the time.
Did you see the Shawshank Redemption?
Oh yeah.
Could you relate to that character Brooks to some degree, the old guy who just had been in so long he just
Oh yeah.
couldn't deal with it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. The last time I was there, I was only there it was 27 months, so it really wasn't even that long. It was a decent amount of time, a little over 2 years. It's enough time, and I still was contemplating, because when my time was coming around, I was joking with a few guys, joking with my worker, because you get you get a worker there that helps you, your counselor, and they make sure you stay on track and you're not causing trouble, and they help determine where you go and what prison you're at and what kind of jobs you can do, and when you parole, that's who you deal with and all that stuff. Then you get your parole officer when you go home, but while you're there, your counselor, you basically just joke with them I just get a little 30-day write-up, because I could get a 30-day write-up. I'll only do another 14, 15 days on it, because I'm gonna do half time anyway. Might even do 12 days, and then maybe by then I'll be ready to go home. And the guy started saying that stuff the week before I was leaving. Everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up, man! You're leaving, dude. Don't do that. Just get out of here, dude.
Yeah,
This is not cool." And no, it's not cool. No, it's not fun. It can be okay, and anything can be. Stockholm syndrome, right? Any experience can be enjoyable. Not enjoyable, but worthwhile. But yeah, it is crazy there. And any single day, every single day, every single day shit happens. People fight, people get stabbed, things kick off every single day. Not all the time does it involve everyone. Sometimes it involves just small groups of people, or certain racial groups, or certain individuals, but at any moment of any day, it can quickly escalate and involve you. And so that you do have to be prepared of. So I guess the fact that you never know if today is a day that you're going to get into something is probably the one thing I hated the least or the most about prison.
And there's one thing I read. Not everyone's a violent criminal, a hardened criminal. So maybe a guy gets involved with fraud or something. But he's, and I heard if you don't stand up for yourself, some guy comes around to start picking on you, and you back down, that's a death sentence, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well, once you become a victim, you'll always be a victim. There's people that's what they do. They prey upon people like that. So they'll come up to some dude and, "Hey man, let me get some phone time, bro. I know you got some phone time. Let me get your phone time." And before you know it, that dude's buying full packages for that guy. You know what I'm saying? Because every quarter you can get a package.
Yeah.
And so 4 times a year you get a package sending, and you can only get one that quarter. Well, some guys want more than that, so they get people like that to have packages sent in, but it's really for the other dude. And basically they just use them, or they'll have them spend their own money on them, shit like that. Start taking over everything he's got. Why? Because he's a pushover victim. So yeah, no, you can't. You might have to fight somebody yet.
Yeah, and they say also, if you were a generous individual on the outside, don't be generous on the inside, because they'll never stop coming around, right?
Exactly. That was exactly what I was just stating. Same thing.
Yeah.
Be polite, but don't be giving all your shit away, because they'll never stop.
And then there was another thing where they said, no one's really your friend in there. This guy, this was a really horrifying story I read about. So he's 19. I think he got busted for possession of pot or something. And he's in this with his cellmate, and his cellmate's really friendly at first, and he's giving him cookies and stuff like that. And then at one point, the guy says to him, "You got to pay me back for all these things I've done for you." And so his way of compensating him was to perform sexual favors. But the 19-year-old guy, he wasn't gay. So then at one point he started saying no. And so his cellmate one day came in with some friends. They broke a broomstick in half, and they raped the young guy with the jagged end. It took 8 surgeries to remove all the splinters. It was just so horrific. Even the warden came and expressed his condolences. And normally, I don't think you probably talk to the warden that much, But it was a really disturbing story. But I guess that's a lesson, right? Nobody's your friend in there.
No, there was a dude that was there one time that killed his cellie, man, and I don't know, he got a knife, snuck that in there, and so we didn't see it. I didn't even see the aftermath. They had it cleaned up, like they found it the next morning. You know what I'm saying? And he was just what was he, fourth tier or something, I think, a little ways down, and yeah, he cut that dude up. I guess it was freaking blood everywhere in there, but that one I didn't physically see. So, but that did happen, and so I mean, so yeah, shit like that does happen.
And then you have to kind of be careful in a whole other way. Like, you have to stand up for yourself. But I've also heard this phenomenon where, like, maybe a guy gets a 2-year sentence, but he ends up killing someone who was attacking him, and then he gets a murder sentence. So now he's doing, 25 years, and he was only supposed to be in there for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you're not exempt from catching more time while there. So yeah, you definitely gotta be careful.
Did you ever go to the hole, or were you better behaved than that?
Yeah, no. I've been to the hole. I was there for a week during one of the riots. They locked a bunch of us down in there. I've been in what we call the dummy box in San Quentin, which was weird. It's just this. It's literally a metal cage that is about as big as you can stand in. You know, if you're 350 plus, you might not 400 pounds. You might not even fit in this thing. And it's just a cage down on the ground, like right out on the bottom of tiers, and it's just there. And being in those things are shitty because sometimes people will throw stuff on you.
Oh yeah, you're on display, right?
Oh yeah, they're on display.
Yeah,
They're
that's
out front. And then they strip you down too. They strip you down during that cage.
wow.
And
Naked.
there's not enough. There's not enough room to sit down or nothing. You stand there. I mean, if you're, skinny and small and flexible, you might be able to squat like a catcher and sit down. But I couldn't.
Oh man, that sounds
Yeah, so
humiliating.
I had to stand there. We ended up standing there for like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 hours or something.
Jesus. So what did you do that led to them putting you in
Just
there?
out running around, out what we call wiggling. It's just out. I got out from my cell on a ducket, and like the nurse, doctor, dentist, any reason that someone official wants to see you is called a ducket.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to go there, and then you're supposed to go straight back. Well, a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
And so you always go other places and go see other guys that you know and bullshit with them and run around and then just basically try to stay out as long as you can before they wrangle you up. And yes, sometimes you'll get a cool cop who'll just be like, all right, go to your cell, lock down or whatever. But usually they're assholes, but I mean, you can't blame them. They're dealing with 1,000 untrained assholes, wild animals running around. So can't really blame them too much, I guess.
So the hole, is that just like in movies
Oh,
and
yeah.
TV where it's dark, you're naked, they got a bucket for you to relieve yourself in? Is it the same way?
San Quentin, yeah. And let's see here. Vacaville was just like a little cell. It was like a little solitude, but you can't have nothing in it. I was over in there. I wasn't there for disciplinary issues in the Vacaville one. I was overflow there. They transferred me somewhere else. They kept me there overnight, and they had nowhere to keep me, so they kept me in the hole overnight. And that was just like a cell, but there was nothing allowed in it. I had light. But a lot of them are more solitary confinements than holes these days. You got a lot of the holes have been deemed back in the old days as cruel and unusual.
Yeah.
And because people can go insane in there because they'd lock people in there for weeks and weeks and months at a time and stuff. And people, without any books. That's the thing. Like if you ain't got a book, or some pencils so you can draw, or write, like that's when your brain starts going mad. You got to have something to keep your brain flowing and thinking and moving. And I mean, yeah, there are some that are probably still like that.
And getting back
For
into
sure.
the subject of how being in prison can affect you mentally, I once had some brief contact with a guy who was in for a very long time. I think it was like 30 years or something. And I was going to schedule an interview with him about his experience in prison. He was wrongfully convicted to make things worse. But his advocate explained to me he has a very hard time taking the initiative with anything because he was so used to having his life planned for him and like almost zero decisions being made. So to go and initiate something was very hard for him. So can you understand how someone would get to that point?
Oh, for sure. Like I said, it sometimes making decisions becomes too overwhelming because you don't know how to do it. Like I had a buddy once. He was some years older than me, so I can't really say I was a buddy. He was just an older dude from like the neighborhood, and he'd been locked up for a while, and he'd come home and like 6 years or something, and he'd done it more than once at this point. And he was in his probably early 30s, and I must have been about 17 or 18. And I asked him, and I just saw a look on his face one day that he did not look okay. And he's a tough dude. And I'm like, dude, you all right, bro? And he's just like, man, I don't know if I can take this shit anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, all this just freedom life out here, man. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm about to go do something. I gotta get locked back up, dude. I was like, what?
That's sad, man. Yeah.
Right? Like, it was insane to me. But then having been locked up for a while, and then you get set in a routine where actually, when you get into a position of where you have the respect and you give the respect because you've been there for a minute, you know what I'm saying? And you got your routine and your program set up, like, it's the same as change. It's the same as losing your job or breaking up with your girlfriend, or it's change, and it's scary, and it's unfamiliar, and you don't know what to do. And if no one's there telling you how to do it or pointing you in the right direction or give you motivation, like, it's easy to fall back on what what you're comfortable with. And that can even be fucking up. If
Yeah.
hurting people or doing crime or drugs or whatever is what's normal to you, even if it's insanity, it's still what you fall back on.
Well, it's not in the best interest of the prison for you to be independent, is it?
No. You'd think not.
No. And so, did being in prison, did it change you in any kind of permanent way? Like, are you a different person now that you've been in there?
I think so. And here's the main reason why. When I first went, I was still a very angry person. I had a lot of hatred. I hated all kinds of people for things. My dad, mom, my son's mom, various different, this girlfriend, that ex-buddy, I had a lot of just anger inside. And while I was there away from everyone, I had time to actually truly let go. And I don't know if they still don't, they might all still hate me, but see, I don't care anymore, and I don't mean it like that, like I don't care. Like, it's just, I'm over all the anger. Like, it gave me time to get over things and actually put a few things in perspective and realize that only myself and my life is what I'm in control and dictating over. And my feelings is it. And whatever I think and feel only affects me. It really does. Like, no one cares if I'm upset at someone else but me. I make my day bad, not yours. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
So I was able to realize that life's too short, too small, and the only person whose attitude I'm messing up is myself by having all these frustrations towards people. So it was able to make me, like I said, let go of those feelings. And so now when I deal with certain people that I used to not like, I actually can hear their point of views. I understand, like my son's mom. Like, I'm receptive to how she feels about things. And it ain't because of any certain class or any one thing. It's just because I realize that there's no point in being upset over old bullshit, because you never know when today's it. We ain't guaranteed tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
There are other guys that I've heard say that it changed them in a negative way, in terms of, like, in jail they just got so paranoid and they didn't trust anybody, and that they couldn't shake it when they got out. It's like they just figure everyone's got an agenda, everyone could be out to get me, and I think in some cases they couldn't get over it.
Okay. I can see something like that. Okay, so there's something that I'm still self-conscious about, and still I don't like if we go out to a restaurant or something, I sit with my back to a wall.
Really?
I prefer to have my back to a wall at any times in large groups of people, not even necessarily because I think anyone's going up to do something or up to something. It's a comfort reason. I know no one's sneaking up behind me if my back's up against the wall. And I directly relate that to prison. Everyone I know does too. They go, yeah, that's totally why you do that. But like, yeah, I gotta, if we go to the club, I like to stand. If we're at the bar, I want to be up against the end of the bar by the wall, like stand over here.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, at all times. I don't like people being able to walk up right behind me, unless of course you can't avoid it and walk down the street or whatever.
And if you see a guy who looks like he must be like a total roughneck, like he probably's looking for trouble, does that affect you differently now than it would have before you went to prison?
No, no. I mean, I grew up around all those people, and I mean, if you see me, bud, you should know I'm covered in tattoos myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, those are my kind of people. Doesn't matter what color you are. I mean, if you're if you're from the wrong side of the tracks, man, you're my kind of people, and I understand. I understand your bullshit. Don't worry. I get that. I'm from a dysfunctional, fucked up family too.
Is your father out of prison?
Yeah, he's out now. He went back just a while ago, but he got out again.
Did he ever comment on the fact that you ended up going too?
No, him and I don't really have too much of a relationship. We chat once in a blue moon. That's about it, and it's more of a, superficial, how you doing type conversation.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't take it the wrong way, but it's like you're kind of a statistic in that men who went to prison often end up, if they have kids, their kids often end up going to prison too. It's a cycle.
They say if you had a kid with a dad who went to prison has a 77 or 70% chance of going to prison, something like that. And I guess it's just because you get comfortable with that type of life and I don't know, it's weird. Like, I don't, if your dad's a troublemaker, I guess his friends probably are too. And then, so you associate with troublemakers growing up and then, it takes you either you, I mean, I guess you could be one of the few ones that I'm not going to because I saw what it did, but that's hard. It is hard to break the cycle.
Well, yeah, and especially when you consider in criminal culture, a lot of them have this kind of resigned feeling about it, where it's like, yeah, you go away once in a while and you come back and you get back in the routine. Yeah, it's just like on Trailer Park Boys, they said, oh yeah, everyone goes to jail. No, not everyone goes to jail. But yeah, I guess in those circles, it just seems normal, I guess.
Well, the funny thing is almost everybody I know has, like all my friends, we've all been to jail, everybody. Well, yeah, everybody does. But you start branching out. So you're right. Start branching from that circle and start going to their sisters and cousins and aunts and moms and dads and brother-in-laws, and you start realizing, oh no, not everyone does. Just idiots of each family like me do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I know that America has like some of the highest incarceration rates in the world. I've had 3 American girlfriends. 2 of them, well, my current girlfriend has been in jail. My last American girlfriend, friends of hers have been in jail. It just seems like, and then they were all working class, poor people, and it does seem to be endemic to that. And that economic milieu,
It's an industrial money crop service down here.
Oh, totally,
now. Yeah. They use it. It's also a form of modern day slave labor. Like every institution in California, well, most of them, produces things, that are sold. Guess what? They charge the inmate, or they pay the inmates like 7 cents an hour to make it.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
I remember I got the best paying job on the yard when I was there last time. I was somebody's clerk. 52 cents an hour.
52 cents.
Position in the whole institution, next to the dudes who go into the dentist office stuff and touch all the biohazard waste. Besides those dudes and the fire camp people, no one had a higher paid position than I had, and it was 52 cents an hour. I mean, the freaking porters, the guys who clean the toilets in your dorms and all the house mouses, some of us will call them, they're getting 3 to 8 cents an hour.
Wow.
Like over at the welding and over at the wood shop, they got some nice furniture being built out there. I don't know what it was being done with, so I don't know. I sure don't know. But oh yeah, chicken farms, all kinds of stuff, man.
And that commissary stuff, that's pretty cheap, right?
For the most part. I mean, it's kind of a dirty monopoly because there's a company out there called Airmark that got contract with a lot of institutions to do their commissary. They're a big delivery company, Airmark, but they also are contracted to do the food for a lot of institutions. So they feed you like shit, so you get super hungry, so you buy more commissary.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
off-brand chips and stuff like that, is it?
No, you get Doritos and things like that. But I'll
No,
tell
I see.
you that your lunch food, like, I joke about it, and I know it's kind of a joke, but there's times where I open the can of dog food to feed grandma's dog over here. And as I'm pouring those little chunks of wet meat out, I'm looking at it going, man, that looks just like the shit I ate when I was in prison.
Wow, that is sad, man. Yeah,
Now, I doubt it really is,
yeah.
but it looks just like it, man.
Oh yeah, they buy the cheapest food imaginable, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah. It's gotta be that great W.
Yeah, yeah. But, well, I thank you so much for this information, because we see the way prison is depicted in movies and television, and it's always exaggerated. There's like the daily anal rapes and
Yeah.
one riot a week. It's always blown out of proportion, but it's good to know. Yeah, it's about the reality
Well,
of it.
and I also know some older guys who have been on some higher, like level three, like fours. I've been on one level three once, but it wasn't that crazy while I was there. So you never know. I might be able to find someone else who's got a few more experiences than I even have to talk to you if you want, bud.
Well, I guess if you're there long enough, you'll maybe see some more crazy shit for sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Thanks, man.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
yeah, no problem, bud. Yeah, no, it gets crazy in there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, alrighty,
All
man.
right, I appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure being here tonight, man. Thanks for interviewing me and having me in, and yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that's
likewise,
it.
man.
Alrighty, my bud.
All right, take care, man.
Alright, you too. Good night.
Cheers. Yeah, bye bye.